There's no question about it. Climate change is not happening. There is no significant man-made global warming now. There hasn't been any in the past, and there's no reason to expect any in the future. There's a whole lot of baloney.
Fair to say that when the United Nations speaks, not everyone listens, but this time they may have used the right language to get people jacked up about the possibility we've already turned the irrevocable corner on a climate change, and in a phrase, we're already toast. Of course, not everyone sees it that way, as witnessed by the founder of the Weather Channel, who went off recently on the topic, and he is qualified as a former member of the American Meteorological Association. So let us part the clouds and welcome to MidPoint former Pennsylvania Congressman, former chairman of the Committee on Science and Technology, seeking to help scientists understand what happens on the Hill, and that's got to be tough in itself. Robert Walker joins us today. Congressman, thank you so much for being here today.
Sure, nice to be with you today.
Here was the note from the United Nations. The Earth is locked on an irreversible course of climatic disruption from the buildup of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and the impacts will only worsen unless nations agree to dramatic cuts in pollution. I don't know about you, but maybe it's time to get the spaceship out and try to find another planet to live on. I mean, this sounds like this is the death knell. Do you agree with it?
Well, I think it's a political statement and not a scientific statement. The point is that that's what we've had an awful lot of whenever we talk climate change. The climate is a very, very complex thing. And when you look at the actual science that goes with the climate change issue, it's clear that the science is not settled and that many of these statements coming out of places like the UN involve a political judgment, not a scientific judgment.
Is it not possible, though, and again, let's play the other side of this, that maybe the climatologists who claim that the tipping point has been reached are right, and that indeed we've only got downward to go from here and it's going to get worse?
Well, it's possible that they're right, but the fact is that the science thus far doesn't really support that. In the most recent IPCC report, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they make some very, very strong political statements. But the fact is, when you look in the back and take a look at the actual science, what you find is that the range of temperature increases that they're talking about are well within the normal range. And the Earth warms, the Earth cools. And we should be studying it. We should try to find out all we can about climate, but it does not necessarily mean that the judgments that are being made now are being made with all of the information in hand. In fact, we've seen a lot of changes in the climate models in recent years because the science didn't do what they claimed it was going to do.
And Congressman, who do we believe? Because we see these reports come out, we see the other side, we talk to you, you've been right there at ground zero on this case. We are constantly getting 0 to 100, it seems almost, in these climate change reports. Who does the public believe, and how do they know to believe anybody?
Well, I think that what you have to do is you have to go to what the science really says, and not listen to the people who are in the process of negotiating all of these things. You know, they just had a meeting in Europe recently where they sat down and negotiated with Poland over how Poland would respond to the climate change mandate that they're trying to set up worldwide. Those negotiations speak to the fact that this is not something where there's a lot of science that supports them. What they've got is they've got a lot of models. Those models are somewhat flawed because they don't have a lot of the complexities. For example, 95% of all greenhouse gas is water vapor. They don't count that in what they do. It seems to me that we would need to know for over a longer period of time what the interface between the atmosphere and the ocean is in order to have really good judgments to make. We're in the process of getting some of that data at the present time, but we certainly don't have a long record of that data.
Only about 25 seconds left here, though. Wouldn't it at least be prudent for us to try to do what we can at this point? Because man is a part of this, certainly not the entire reason for it, but at least try to do a little bit to hold back on some of the damage.
Absolutely,
correct?
We should be. I'm a huge advocate for going to a hydrogen economy that would allow us to use our energy vastly more efficiently. I think we need to go in that direction, and I'm a supporter of it. But we ought not to start with the premise that we do this because there's settled science on climate.
You don't think this administration would do the right thing, do you?
I don't think that they're doing the right thing at the present time. They ought to be investing in getting more good data not investing in trying to move us politically.
There you go. Congressman Robert Walker, pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for bringing some midpoint to this, if you will. We'll talk again.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, breaking back here on Midpoint with a deeper peek into the numbers on several key Election Day chases, some of which we won't have a result until around the new year. And at 34 minutes after the hour, remember the American dream? The Chinese are the ones currently living it, and maybe at your expense. It's coming up right here on Midpoint.